perfect design prevails and provides that the identity image is intact. My name is Hatch, as the facts contain my alignment with this identity icon. So it is. And it relies on no other faith, it relies on no other man. It's only myself. But you can imagine how difficult a singularity facing the marklar of man, growing up with all these strains and whistles, the universe, our reality, our encounter. Later discoveries in my lifetime helped me to understand the perplexing situation of our norm, the situation of Marklar, the situation of who we are, and the complex residency of Earth. Who is Earth? What is our responsibility to our home planet? What is the story of the solar system? Does it pertain to the energy of the rainbow, the universe, and how we must perform with common sense and the dignity of Americans? Particular light does exist and is the absolute. There are things inside of us that cannot be taken away, and they can only be accessed by you, the wizard of your own body. Tricky holy war weather pattern here on Earth, but I have defeated it, and I have curved the agenda. The system of the down is broken. We are installing the perfect design and the way for moving forward. I need a political center where people can get behind the wolf party. Our political animal will be the wolf. It's going to be an amazing feat, but it's sort of what I want to do with part of my warehouse space as part of my streaming service. My streaming service actually provides all these things like a think tank environment where youthful people can express their political views and have a destination of someplace that they can go to where they can work hard on a statement and have it put together in a dailies. And who knows, they might actually rise up and I might inaugurate them or they might get something going on otherwise. But what's clear from the events of yesterday is that America needs a genuine relief, a genuine hero, and a genuine outlet where they can talk about new solutions, green energy, something that's very advanced as far as identity in the society. You expect that answers are going to come from the Democrats or Republicans. It's like, wow, what about what about a new voice? You know, I believe that the earth is on the edge of its seat as far as who we are, where we are right now, a historical time. And there's so many things I could explain that would really alleviate the tension, but there's this sort of emotional curvature which requires a provocative relationship in order to detail advanced things because it's whether or not the identity survives the information. Most people would crumble under the severity of what I'm saying. Essentially, what I represent is the identity can change the universe, the world, everything for the better. That we can defeat the climate crisis and we can have heroes. I'm saying yes. And the forces that are against me have aligned as such. But the Ware Map, Trey Parker, and Hatch Van Heliosphere are not the ones who have caused a bad thing. We are not doomcasters. We are social engineers. We are working on the solution. The language is so bad right now, and Earth is going through on clockwork uh, an issue with an exodermal situation, UFOs intentionally crash landing, committing suicide to our own son recently in the news. Well, it was 10 years ago, but for me, it was recently. And a straight rainbow shot across the universe, and well, it was in the news, but who saw that? But what we all did see and what we noticed was the deadlights rose, these strange little onion orbs of light floating around, coming out of the earth. Oh, what? Wow. It's all part of what I understand to be natural type of argument that's from the religious spirit. The church is struggling, the government is struggling, and these people are struggling. But how do we raise these children? Because Greta and the Friday Kids are actually born with the next level equipment where they're not performing in the same steadfast Christian agenda for the junk DNA worship. Okay, so riddles in the anatomy that I had to figure out. And I became this sort of antiviral angel where I was like, okay, oh, and I've got a list of all these types of hemoglobins that interfere with the human condition, and I've marked them all for the big marklar. Mm-hmm. And so you need to be cautious about when you get triggered or when you have an emotion on it. You should have a huge boner for millions of dollars in making a toy that makes its own music. The Green Wolf robot toy is perfect in this way. The genuine solution is potential between Hatch and Trey. But the human spirit is haggard. The evidence of the system in the down, the collapse, the pandemic, 30,000 dead people. That's not the result of Hatch and Trey and the earth. Okay? Your guys' response to Jesus Christ was to crucify him, triggered by an anatomical blindness. So, in this modern day, when the UFOs are sending their moon-shaped UFO to commit suicide into our star, this happened like 15 years ago. What they're intending is to, through Scientology, put their ancient madness into our children through inappropriate subversion of the identity. So through junk DNA, interfere with the creation model's intention with Earth and the universe. So I'm the agent working to connect the child to the universe. But there are forces that don't want that to happen. Essentially, because of Trey Parker is a divine figure and potentially my best friend. But the things that he's done, which you guys probably all call it now, and Trey too, you call it my momentary lapse in judgment and my bad thinking in 2019 was to invite Hatch out when he took out a loan of money. I could have done it, all right? As things, time and expenditure different? Okay. Things you know about, right? So there seems to be something out of order there on a practical level, and yet that's not being restored or repaired or fixed because of advisors that crucified Jesus. Many, yes. Okay, so the act of removing the person's soul is part of the demographics, the political spectrum of the UFOs that cloistered towards Earth but were intervented by a Plan B stratosphere, which is actually a viral UFO. A little spark from within the childlike self. is actually the cure for the universe. Who would believe that? hmm I would. Okay, so their gameplay of soul raping each other in their UFO haunt appears to be natural to them, and that's the way they talk. So recently, there was a sequence of events which leads up to them working to install through junk DNA. But I dare say that we have the common sense here to understand that soul rape is not okay. So I'm providing a wolf shield that protects the children from soul rape. Now, the junk DNA is not going to like that, especially you gentlemen from the 70s with your Christian Reich. I understand that you want to hurt Hatch, you want to blame Hatch, you want to censor him. His thoughts, not okay. His free speech, not allowed. His ability to run for president, forbidden. These are the practical things that you performed without Trey Parker's intention. Like he didn't want those things. But because of, okay, so what junk DNA does is a clusterfuck hack, lifetime hack, group hack. Group hack, well, that sounds like something that is over my head because I'm just a, well, why were, but no, you're not because you were chosen by the Ware map. Right? The action of removing the soul from the still living body is a crack addiction of junk DNA. The predilect, or the same vein leading of that, is the trouble of a resident Earth attempting to complete its identity, and then its identity being invaded and transformed by an invasion party. Okay, so the behavior of allowing soul rape to the children and attacking Hatch is the same vein. It's anti American. But why is America this great angel, the arm of Cape Cod? Once again, things that the aliens couldn't understand or decipher becomes the burden of mankind, and things that you think are ridiculous. So the reason that there was a collapse of society is because Earth is working to realign his identity so that there won't be invasion in the future. The insane vein of soul rape is the same as invasion. You understand? It's not that I'm having a vision or I'm not doom casting. I'm not saying that invasion will happen. In fact, all of my powers and my identity is slated against it. Permanently, perfectly. For the invitation to Earth ended 1,000,000 years ago. For they would have to digest and comprehend residency before they could encounter the event of Earth. And the true meaning of Earth does exist, despite the weather conditions. Trey Parker took on the language, talking about these cow mutilations, anal probe, some sort of probe inside of Eric Cartman. This is stuff that you guys know about and that you talk to the public about, right? But how is that not Trey Parker's technology? Well, it is Trey. It's Trey's technology. But we don't. We want to attack Hatch. Got the burning desire, man. You don't know what it feels like, man. We come from different worlds, gentlemen. My birth and everything that I've learned in my lifetime has led me to this completion. Boom! Perfect design. All of the people in my family were from the 70s, you goofball. I don't think that you guys are obsolete or old. I just have the key lock where I understand all your triggers, but I don't make bombs. Right? So anything that you feel fall out, that's the Antichrist trying to convince you about the definition of our relationship, but it's faulty. And South Park is the vein of Trey's identity that prevails him above the language of normal men who lack the global dialect. Something excruciating coming around here from communism and China, whatever. Something excruciating coming in through here, through the church. Well, we have to navigate that. Don't hurt the children now. Don't be gay. Spectrum. Full reality. Well, we don't want to be soul raped. We don't want to be wasted. We don't want to be ruined. We don't want to have a blind side. And so what I see is a lot of distraction devices going like ding, 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 and they all contain nothing. But the potence here between Hatch and Trey is perfect and tantamount. Trey is potentially my best friend. Through the exquisite luxury of a conversation on the phone, I could explain any of these things that you would like to know about. The ruins of Atlantis on the Atlantic Ocean, the earlier settlers that were appropriate but were absconded by a space-riddled sick UFO, right? The UFOs are less powerful than the potential completion of mankind. Mankind's silver lining, his achievement, is the silver lining of junk DNA. You have to physically do it to actually make the drop off. Part of my definition. Okay, so I'm like this old wizard, and I'm coming up to it. And I'm like, "Oh, Trey, there's a where map, and you were chosen by this and that." And Trey said, "Like that's super cool. I can see it. Yeah, there's a Beavis and everything." Trey is a long sufferer, a true poet, a romantic. But what's between us now is a professional guff, and not the fuzzy feelings that you would hope for. I'm here to raise a political party. Our animal is the wolf. But really to substitute, no, to supply a political revolution, I need a larger platform, like a big building. Collins Mill is no longer available because they got the PPP loan that they wanted. It's off the market. So I stopped talking about Collins Mill. It's not really that I'm interested in cars. Like, I am, I'm interested in cars, but I'm not technically like a mechanic. Like, I'm not like some sort of, right? But, it's just like, I would need a huge amount of money to open up a streaming service. Once I have a streaming service, then I can afford a political revolution center where people can peacefully have voice their opinions, work on an idea, have a think tank, and we edit down. And you know how Hatch is. Like, he'll be like, it's like, shooting fish in a barrel. But when people start getting fanatic, my people come and say, hey, you guys, that's not going to work. No, 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 put down that Confederate flag, you bonehead. Right? Like if you want to talk about this and that, you're gonna have to do it like this and that because you're you're putting the wrong strains on the things. Like, okay, so people are talking in tongues because there's an exoskeleton where the human condition and the confusion that triggers men and makes them behave, that's conditioning that is desirable for invasion. And Greta and the Friday Kids, who are environmental, they're advanced and they're trying to not receive that invasion. Now, the specific thing is they also want to stop the environmental crisis. So the environmental crisis is related to junk DNA, to the human condition, and the problem of invasion. Because the reason junk DNA is because they weren't going to wait for the wizard identity of Trey Parker to reveal himself. They weren't going to wait for Hatch to reveal himself. They wanted to substitute the answer with a false Junktine coital demon parasite. Okay, and they don't think that our inventions or our identity is very clever. They think our technology is obsolete, and they think that they're able to manipulate our relationship with the universe. And but what they didn't realize is that the gatekeeper would arrive with a full enlightened mohawk. But this is also something that's this is like the story that Hatch is telling about himself, and it's just him. Um, so part of the Marklar here is that the Junktine was actually a giant trap designed to attack the gatekeeper when he showed up. So I'm the child Marklar fighting against this whole list of virus tapestries, right? So don't get triggered because they don't like me. Like when I talk, my all of my code is like be yourself, don't listen to those parasites, and they don't like that. And so they work with their hive because that's what they are. They're a hive hack of a lifetime hack because there's a coital inside the body, which is like what? Oh, there's like an uncommunicative, yeah, and it will manipulate at critical times when they're talking about the ascension that I'm talking about now. So Trey has probably experienced some sort of numbness where it's like, oh, I don't feel the same. Like I'm trying to get back in shape, and it's like all wonky, and everyone's worried about Trey and stuff. And like all that he really needs is to give me. Oh, sorry, I won't say it. Sorry, what Trey needs is for he and I to talk on the phone every day for like a year on the phone because there's like all these fucking details that you need to understand and navigate it. The reason that Trey is great is not because of his man, but because of South Park. So the achievement, so really that Trey really is a spiritual creature through South Park. That's why I've been working on like encouraging Trey's technology of this and that, and that I mean like that helps our relationship. And like when we're talking, he's like referring to that and be like, yeah, I know you want us to, our handmade goods can do all this, right? So thing is that yeah, it's like they didn't realize the definition of the physics that would incur when the Leverett, the arm of Cape Cod Leverett fetus guy would show up. But sort of the nucleus of the occurrence of the ascension of mankind is this nuglet that's on the stage right now, and the UFOs in their haunt. They're like, oh, okay, now it's time for us to like make one of our UFOs commit suicide into the sun, right? Well, Scientology that, and we'll do that, and we'll just soul rape them, right? But like in 20 years from now, or in 30 years, that nugget has subsided, and the next term of their phase is to invade. But that would be prevented if I could arouse some wizards like Trey Parker to complete the ascension inside of it. And then we create patterns that prevent, because that Trey's adoption of Hatch would be basically the silver lining of Junktine. But because I'm the gatekeeper unmet, the Leverett circle incarnate, um, everyone gone zombie when I arrived. All right, it's a huge trap. And so Hatch's exposure is difficulty +2, which is why he needs a producer and why we shouldn't mark Lar on Hatch's, that his channel doesn't get a lot of views, or why isn't he making money on his own? He seems to have these great ideas. Why doesn't he just go out and get a job? That seems reasonable. Oh, welcome to 2021. It's not reasonable, dude. There's joblessness and all this shit. There's a problem with the economy, and I can fix it with the Green Wolf Party by overhauling the economy. We need to actually change the dollar, crack open the dollar, um, or we need to pump ozone straight into the sky. This is like these actual solutions that could work. Um, the apocalypse is not burning oil. This is like cursing for in the past. Once again, we're the good guys. Hatch is a good guy. Trey is a good guy. Earth is a good guy, and we're not to blame, and we didn't set off the big thing. But all the complaining children, they did, because they said, don't soul rape me, don't attack me, don't kill Earth, or don't do it. And they thought, shut it down. Society fell. Because Earth and the children don't want to leave each other. They don't want to die. It's a situation with UFOs that the government is adopting. They're working with they have peace treaties and they're working with the UFO stuff. But here over here in the communication industry, there's a silver line. There's like, whoa, wait, what if we talk about it? Wouldn't that get the armor and the shielding to the kids so that they wouldn't get soul raped by their own government? Yes, yes, it would. Which is why Hatch wants to work with Trey. But the system industry will clusterfuck the Jesus Christ to the crucifixion. Why? Why do humans crucify Jesus? And why is when there's a chosen one, Trey Parker, why does he get clusterfucked by his fucking friends? You're supposed to be my fucking time belt, you jerk. You know what I'm saying? And I've been thinking about this issue all day. And this is like my fifth take of a serious thing. I almost put down my thing. I was just like, no, I'll talk tomorrow. There's something else going on here. And I started looking at stuff, and everyone, and the little blips and stuff are like, no, lay it down today, and then really it's by identity, not but sometimes you can read things and see, mm, there's a healthier cream. No, okay. Mhm. All right. I'm on this sort of reality where, with Collins Mill, and then, oh, that's not available anymore. And it's sort of like time is happening. And for me, Earth and the good guys are working on the solution. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so Collins Mill is sold. Okay, let's maybe like cars. Like, I mean, what am I gonna? How do I talk to people? I just because I really I want it to be on South Park. I want it to be through South Park. But I have this thing like I think that Trey is gonna be like, oh, like Trey would try to refuse it, be like, it's too much, it's too good of a script. My script is the best South Park script you get. My script is very good for South Park, and you guys would have false modesty. Oh, it's too much. This is too good of a script for me. It's too good for the children. We better, let's pump on the brakes, slow it down, move slower, partner with the tick. Don't know what's going on with my life. Things are changing. Don't know why. Is this growing old? Only you can cure you, Trey. Woot. So don't ask anyone else's opinion because it will only be poison. Only you can figure out your noodle. The riddle in your heart, Eric Cartman, runs deep. Yes, you're right, Eric. You are a king of the of technology, the origin story of Earth, carved from a handmade little cutouts with these perfect, brightly colored shapes. South Park is powerful. And Eric Cartman has every right to fight for his right to work with Hatch. This means my halo. This means my children won't get soul raped. If we work with Hatch, we could have double armor and have all these things protected. He's been working his whole life to build up his immunities. Don't get triggered by him. Don't say that he's our enemy. That's what Eric says. And Trey Parker can hear the voice of Eric Cartman. And that is why Trey Parker, in everyone else's opinion, Trey made a momentary lapse of judgment when he invited Hatch out for the interview, right? But that was actually the best thing that Trey did. because he said, let's see what the adventure is that Earth has packed with us, all right? And it's not Trey's fault that things went bad when, I was attacked at at the gate of South Park. I go knocking at the door, and there's a security guard going like, "Oh, I know that you were gonna be here," and I'm like, "Holy shit, what the fuck? I was invited. I drove across for a week. You guys didn't have time to plan for my arrival." And they're like, "Call the security." Da, da, da. Fucking cringe faggots. I'm not thirsty for retro. I was talking about time traveling because I got to pull this shit off with the 80s fuckers with a vehicle, from the 80s. Fucking time travel. Junk DNA confuses all the shapes, and yet here we are. You know, it's like that. My experience is in the human condition, the jettison between the identity and the system of the down. It's like being torn apart constantly. It's like it's like continual death. Blah, blah, here I am. Blah, here I am. Blah. It's psychotic emotional warfare that drags you down. And some people would confuse it with just going, "Oh, this is just what it's like to grow old." You ain't never seen a satellite image of the universe before, fucker. Oh, but I was working on the factory. I was this and that. Step aside, old man. You ain't never seen virtual reality before. Nope. You don't know what it does. Boom. Eternal value. Perfect design. Right. So this is not what it feels like to grow old, where we have all this technology. There's some other story going on that's making us feel different. But what I was saying, between Trey and Hatch, there's a spark of best friends forever, and let's keep a secret place on the deep, Trey, uh, like a secret vault. Right. So on one hand, Trey Parker's like, I don't want to get hurt or tricked or bombed or injured by Hatch. Okay, let's do that, Trey. Let's do that. Okay, buddy. And you know what? I'm gonna have the same thing. I'm gonna say I won't let South Park any of these guys injure me at all ever. All right. So okay, come on, buddy. Here we go. Oh, Eric. Oh, I love Eric. He's such a cuddle bunny. Everyone's like, what? No, Eric Carmen's not a cuddle bunny. I'm like, yeah, he is, dude. He and I are always canoodling and plotting against you, Trey, from the other side. Anyway, like, so literally, you will make this increase in your identity image. You will put it, lay away. Oh, my one of a kind soul. Oh, it's ignited there. Okay, I'm there. And oh, another Horcrux. Here we go. And make it, this day by day, you're working away at your soul, right? The reality is the investment of that curvature. So you only really feel that investment like hundreds of years in the future. It's like having a child in a heaven vec. It's like, oh, it's encrypted by my identity. Yes, yes. All right, but the feeling that you'll have by making this wizard atonement to yourself whilst you live, it's like nothing. You just have, like, that's what my feeling with, like, dude, I've been a wizard my whole life. Like, I've been doing magic and art, and I get up to, like, I'm in a place right now where I'm like, oh, my hand went, ran, like, I caught the porcelain statue, like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to, like, dude, like, I've worked my whole life to be magical and to do magic and to work with my art. But it's just like, well, what do you want from your own children? You don't want them to subsidate your feelings, bro. It's like it's painful to be a human. Just on a glass of water. Well, it's no wonder that people struggle with drug abuse because it's natural for a human to use drugs. What I'm saying, like Trey, like, you know, it's okay to self-medicate. Be like, I need this to, whether you guys have mommy's little helper or whatever, but you should. Like, as soon as I have my company, I'm going to be getting back onto Adderall because it helps to get things done. And when, like, the way I am now on a glass of water, it's like a different issue, you know? It's a different fuel type. So the jettison is different. Like, and it's almost like, here I am earning why I should have my own company. talking about virtual reality in an electric self-driving car. It's revolutionary. It's worth billions of dollars, and people are just like, never mind, they're whatever. So, because I do have this relationship with destroying viruses, you guys need to be understanding plus two and understand that I am the 80s child surrounded by 70s characters, growing up the Marklar and watching things happen around me that are related to my phenomenon, but not that I am guilty of those phenomenons. I didn't expect for Earth to make a decision. When I was finally physically ready to make a public expression, immediately Earth said, "This is your Marklar. You need to work with Trey Parker." Done. And I was just like, "What?" And then, but none of these humans are gonna not crucify Jesus Christ, right? Because they already did it long ago. For something new to happen, we need that type of vision. For freedom of speech, we need a new type of idol. For a free election, we need a different type of energy. Hatch is that energy. I believe my work would be a lot more beautiful if it was edited by a group of normal humans who said, like, I thought that was awesome, and then it needs music. So then this, and then music, and then boom, a huge explosion. There's Trey Parker, on his 300th episode of Hatch's special. I expect that you haven't seen everything that I've done, but you've seen a lot of it. The important thing is to not get razzle-dazzled by all these little blinking bells and get confused away from the real cherub of the opportunity of your life. My episode, South Park, collaboration, it's basically I'm creating these stations, these rooms that have a giant robot in virtual reality. It's a collider, and the characters go up to it and sort of interact with it in funny and unexpected ways. The punchlines reflecting on the visuals. So Eric Cartman comes up to this ridiculous ornate thing that's like, and it produces these donuts, based on your input or whatever. And Eric just goes and Marklars, all day. He just has fun. It's like an amusement park. When I'm talking about making, the technology center. All right, maybe we're a little bit toasted on that. You can't put on your thinking cap. Okay. So the reason that society fell was not because of Trey, wasn't because of Hatch, it wasn't because of the Earth. It's because the man is triggered by allowing the man is triggered into behaviors which are the same as allowing the soul rape to their own children. Adjacent to that, the same type of conjecture as them committing suicide into our star and activating the junk DNA at a certain time during the heat of man's expulsion of the original function of Earth. Should we give it to the aliens? Should we give our children's souls to the aliens? To the UFOs who don't live here on Earth? Or should we have a perspective and a relationship with the universe and provide the silver lining which gets around these geek burglars? Oh, yeah, they were mutilating cows and doing anal probes. So don't worry about those guys. A bunch of quackers over there. But universe, love, God, and heavens, yes. And it opens up and opens up. And that's how to actually prevent invasion. So the behavior that attacked me when I went to California is the predilect code, which is the same as invasion. And that's why society fell. Not because of Trey, not because of Hatch, because what Hatch was developing could only be awoken if Trey Parker had met with him, adopted him literally, and been like, yeah, let's do your project. This sounds funny, man. You make me laugh. I'm excited to see what you do. Here's a little, you can work in this garage. We'll hang out. Hey, man, you'll be lucky if you get invited into South Park when we, well, maybe we'll see you later, buddy. That would have been a fun 2019. I really was looking forward to working with Trey. That is where we would have seen the explosion of what Hatch was designing for Trey. I wasn't making a guilt trap, but when I mentioned things like, oh, you attack Greta and Thunderberg and the Friday Kids on Christmas, it's actually an indication of an adult curve where Trey is whispering to gods, and you guys way down here, attack Hatch, attack Hatch, attack him, protect our money banks. He's after it, he's a troll. You're assassinating Jesus over and over again by failing the language of Trey Parker. Oh, but Hatch is trying to set us against each other. No, he's not. He's trying to explain something. Fuckers. Billions of children playing with the Green Wolf robot toy, making their own music. A divine ascension. Hatch. And your emotional reaction to that. Oh, billions of dollars. Wow. Hatch mentions that he took out a loan before going out to South Park. Triggered anger. Oh, attack Hatch, attack Hatch. You're not going to work with him. Don't call him, do not talk. Of course, talking would break the barrier that is the Scientology encryption that I built. Right? So, in order for me to protect children from Scientology, I built a thing that defeats remote access, voodoo. I did a thing that defeats voodoo, and all these creatures that perform voodoo and rely on that for their food, oh, they don't like me. So don't get triggered, you little whore. For being a man doesn't mean doing what the other parasite men do. It means being yourself and doing only your own thing. It's like Trey speaking in this language about rolling the dice in the direction of Hatch, or talking about Greta in a way on Christmas, is a way of explaining something that's way up here. And that's why I mentioned it, even though you guys derive only the flack of the down. No, 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 no. Attack Hatch. It satisfies my junk DNA. Well, it's not going to satisfy your well being. You're going to get more and more depressed because you're digging a deeper and deeper well with a relationship with a thing that causes cancer. Cancer bad? Oh, oh no, it's a Klingon. Attachment's bad? What? Possession? Don't understand. Okay. Denial ain't just a river in Egypt, buddy. So the divine arts do not play in these predictable ways, but by pinning the blame on Hatch, you're performing in a way and saying that there is no divine and that Trey was not chosen to be the Messiah of this age group. 2019, 2020, 2021. The rolling espionage of my economic. I could have run against Trump with the money I had, but I was invited with the promise for production. Right? That's what the idea is. A simple refund would have worked, and then I would have gone back and gone to work on my own thing. But I was suddenly strapped underneath this huge deficit. Of course, our relationship was over as I was driving back to Massachusetts. But then the pandemic happened, which is why you're here to understand if there's any connection to God. And there is. But it's like an identity thing where you'd have to listen to Eric Cartman more than the chronic naysayer, or like some crappy advice from some appointed official. That's my uh, that's my PR people. My PR people said I cannot talk to you. But a conversation is what would defeat the barrier of the communication So basically, the potential between Hatch and Trey is wrapped down because of not allowed to talk, but Trey's like, but I do talk about Hatch on South Park. Isn't that better? It like on one way, like I understand it. I think Earth understands it. I think Trey understands it, but it doesn't cause the silver lining of junk DNA because in the pandemic special, even though you spared the pangolin, you were ripping on me pretty specifically, and in a way that makes people think. Eh? So kind of a devious attack that you did on me, when really I'm just serving Earth and Earth's appointment of Trey, which I didn't. Well, I mean, like I understood that it was aimed at me because, like, I mean, because I had to react because I'd been like, oh, South Park, and I sent him the silver violin, and then I was investigating these buildings, and then, and Earth was like, boom, that, and I'm like, oh, dang. So that's why I was doing that, but it's never happened before. But I am the Marklar of it's never happened before. See? And I've also been fighting against zombies with a certain behavior pattern, which you guys matched perfectly. All right, so that, being a Colorado, Californian, uh, I tried to understand Boston kind of goofball is not immunity from general human disposition with the Christ and all this stuff. I represent something that a youthful generation who are in their 20s will understand. But you guys are like, censor the free election. Don't allow him to speak. And you guys can't connect your behavior with what you're doing. So what you're doing is saying those things. His manner of thinking is not okay. That's America is supposed to be free thoughts and free speech. We can't allow him to have his free speech. We can't allow him to run for president. There's a different rhythm between you and Greta and the Friday Kids, between those two, the fag of 70s, and then these children of like the 2000s and stuff, man. There's a huge gaposis between that, these people in their 20s who are ready to change the country and who would understand what I'm saying. But there's a status encryption, the establishment. They've got all the money from burning oil, and they're going to perform that same tired out antichrist body and crucify the Christ over and over again until invasion hits their children because they're an anti-father. The truth about my own birth father, Steve, he was the greatest of men. He was the champion, chose specifically to perform the Leverett task. And I saw the way he was torn apart by surrounding situation, and the same thing's happening to Trey. So I understand what's happening, but I'm the only Marklar of the beginning. So without faith in yourself, you are left to censor an election or work with the tick. And when God is speaking to you practically, like this is the word that's going on, this is what you're doing, that's a season that you're in. And it will fade, and as your potential fades. As you continue to drag your heels, we can't afford to allow this guy to speak, you guys. That's what I'll put on our tombstone. So when I mention these things, it's not because, as you guys think, I'm building up a court case. I value my eyes, unlike you guys. So I don't want to go into a courtroom. But so you fail the lesson because you're looking for a troll. Dark light situation +2. The soul regard a difficult weather here on Earth, but it's very worthwhile. You could actually earn an entire heaven of your own for your own afterlife if you work properly with Hatch. That is the destiny of man if they can comprehend the language of the map and of Hatch. But usually they get triggered and then they're like, the corporation doesn't need a friend. So a lot of things that you guys didn't want to hear is what I'm here to talk about. All right? Because I was up late last night understanding what happened at the White House and a woman shot in her neck. What a disgrace. A woman of our own military, of course. It's like kind of bittersweet to inaugurate the president like this. But it's just like, was that the last tangent of Trump hate? Now we have this new president. Like, I don't know. Like, that's that was the big party last night or this morning. Yeah, and it's to be celebrated. But I believe that there was a better way to put the icing on the cake of removing Trump. I mean, Trump needed to be removed one way or the other, but my free campaign against him would have introduced the actual every vote is counted, and that would be the greater way to defeat a zombie Trump that was elected because of the foibles in the Electoral College. Now you guys have confidence in the Midwest, and you think, oh, Ohio is going to help us and bring about the democracy. Look how they fought hard to elect Joe. And so the vote of our own cities, Los Angeles and New York City, it doesn't matter. It didn't cause the outcome of this election here. Well, you guys certainly didn't elect Hillary. Oh, I've forgotten about that. So you failed your lesson and you're not this and not that. So now, oh, but now the government works. Oh, the government works again. Yay, we have this Joe. So you guys are happy as like a bunch of bugs. And, I feel like we could have gotten rid of the problem in a professional way that would have been effective to defeat the actual undercurrent. The problem was the electoral college is the problem, but now the electoral college is the hero. So everyone's working on it so hard. Oh, the system works, you guys. All right, I'm being prompted here. My time is up. All right, I guess, I'm sorry that this is exhausting material. Once again, this is uncomprehendable by people in their 20s, people who have gumption. They're like, I can change my country. I can change the world. I can change the universe. And Hatch is saying, yes, absolutely, that is true. But the system is saying, no, censor Hatch, don't let him, don't take away his money. Okay, oh, it's not our fault. Our lawyer said, I challenge you, Trey, but I did not attack you. If you felt something fall out, know, my friend, that the spiritual manipulation of the junk DNA, you can just make a choice to transcend it. Choose wisely, my friend. Let the children have a hero. Let's build the Green Wolf robot together. Thank you, South Park. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time and energy. I know this is a difficult issue, but since you guys are invested to figure out how to attack Hatch. I mean, try to, when you show up to these meetings, I want you to be promoting the values and comprehending an intellectual gain. Fathom that there is something useful here. And that's how to transcend the bigot. I know you're trying to perfect your lifetime. and so am I. Thank you, my friends. Complicated situation made clear by our choosing. To have the right inflection to transcend depression, anxiety, to serve Earth during a difficult time, to rise above the challenges of the human condition and give the world to our children and introduce these wizards to the universe. That's absolutely our inheritance because we have these satellites. This technology is brand new to this generation. So this is absolutely what we need to do. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Trey, I'm looking forward to being friends with you in the future. Although right now, you know, please, Trey, give me this job. I look forward to being your friend in the future. Thank you. It is good.